lot of questions this morning. One of them is what's going on down in Westminster. It's the National Farmers Union Conference. NFU President Tom Bradshaw is speaking. Let's have a quick listen.
Farmer whose home and livelihood may be taken away because often the landlord is better off taking that land back in hand. I worry about former tenant farmers too. People who have scraped everything together, risked it all to finally buy their farm. Now they face a tax bill they cannot pay. I worry about the next generation, like Henry, whose entire future in the industry is now in question. But most of all, I fear for the elderly farmers. I think of the grandson who wrote to me about his 94-year-old grandfather. This isn't just money. This is blood, sweat and tears. The farm was their life's work. But as they've grown older, the farm has also become their pension, because that's what they were told to do. On the 30th of October, that all changed, with no warning, and the mental health pressures on our industry today are unbearable and unacceptable. As difficult as this is for me to say and you to hear, many older farmers are now facing that very real dilemma that unless they die before April 2026, their families will face a family farm tax bill they simply cannot afford to pay. What a cruel position to put elderly people in, by no way of warning, by way of a broken promise. Government, you must correct this urgently. The family farm tax is also economic.
So that was Tom Bradshaw there talking at the National Farmers Union. We're going to be hearing from Steve Reid later, the Environment Secretary. That will not be a receptive crowd for him.
Speaking without notes, speaking from the heart, unlike the Prime Minister yesterday, who was... Do you remember when he was speaking about Ukraine? He could have been speaking about a parish council.
Yeah, it was awful.
So wooden.
Awful. The farmers, the big question for them, though, is when they start taking more action, actual direct action to disrupt. They're being very polite at the moment. All these words, all this chatting, the government do not care. They're not changing anything. And
here's what Steve Reid, the Environment Secretary, is going to tell the conference, that the government's going to ensure that in the public sector, British food only is bought. Good luck with that.
Well, where are you going to buy that from when all the farms are closed?
Exactly.
Of course, this NFU, National Farmers Union Conference, is happening in Westminster this morning. We thought there might be some disruption. This is what happened when Environment Secretary Steve Reid was talking earlier. There are farmers there. We can't take the audio. We believe there was some bad language used.
Of course.
This is farmers standing at the front of the stage, we presume men in suits, holding up banners. We don't know what it says on those banners at the moment. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 people holding up, men holding up signs. It's impossible to see who they might be. The security guards come along, they move them on, they tell them to put their signs down, and off they go. We don't know what message they gave to Steve Reid, but we can...
it was something like scrap the inheritance tax raid.
Yeah, maybe. Right, well, we will find out. We'll give you a little bit more information on that as it comes in. Now, the National Farmers Union Conference has been taking place this morning.
The government's being urged to reset its relationship with farmers and do the right thing, i.e. get rid of that appalling idea of bringing in inheritance tax to months of protests.
So Environment Secretary Steve Reid spoke just a short while ago. Here it is.
Now, I can't give the answer I know many of you want on inheritance tax, but I want you to know that I understand the strength of feeling in the room and in the sector. We can see an example of that right in front of me now. And I am sorry it's a decision that we've had to take. Like I said, I'm always going to turn up to have the conversation with you. There's an opportunity to ask questions afterwards, and it might be better.
So those protesters there when Steve Reid was speaking, we think that they were farmers. We couldn't see what it said on their banner. When Tom Bradshaw from the NFU was talking, PETA were there. Here it is. Here's the footage. Here it is.
Thank you as well to our sponsors.
Fruit for the planet. Farming animals is
if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the guys holding up the banner that snatched the poster off the two PETA girls wearing their orange masks, looking ridiculous.
And of course, PETA is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They are vegans.
Do you think somebody should tell them that farmers also grow, plants?
They do.
Things like that. We need them for the vegans and the meat eaters.
Yeah.
Let's talk now to Kelly Seaton, dairy farmer. Morning, Kelly.
Morning.
Morning. So I think we can probably imagine what might have been on the banners if they were farmers protesting. They must have been there protesting against Steve Reid. What is the main message that you farmers still want to communicate to politicians?
I mean, the last time a Labour MP was stood at the NFU conference, he lied for a straight hour about how he was going to support us and he wasn't going to raise taxes, and that all turned around, didn't it? So I think the strength of feeling is that even if there is a positive message coming from Steve Reid, it's very woolly, and can we believe what they're saying? Because they've turned around on everything else they've said to farming. And their Labour manifesto consisted of a whole 87 words on agriculture when they were elected into office. Gosh. So the devil is in the detail. We will see what comes.
Just to run it past us again, Kelly, the Labour manifesto devoted just 80 words to agriculture.
87 words.
87. My God.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt on the 7.
Yeah, and you think how important farming is to this country and how many people agriculture employs. It rather shows they're not terribly interested in your sector.
No, not at all. And traditionally, governments try and cause as much of the painful decisions to go through during the early part of their time in office. However, on this occasion, the inheritance tax changes will come into play about halfway through their term, which means that all of the examples that we are giving at the moment are going to become real-world examples towards the end of their 4-year period, when they are going to be wanting public support.
Just check, 500,000 people work in British agriculture, Kelly, and they devoted 87 words to you. We were curious, Bev and I, is there going to be a point when farmers think Rachel in accounts, because let's be honest, it's the Chancellor of the Exchequer who decides these policies, decide the protest isn't working, we have to escalate it and perhaps possibly even disrupt the food chain?
Potentially, it's a very difficult thing to achieve. The National Farmers Union, which is the conference that they're at today, was at a meeting with the Treasury last week. They put a clawback option on the table for the Treasury, which would have raised more money than what the APR, BPR changes are proposing, another 100 million. And they've shut the door in their face on that negotiation.
Kelly, where do you go now? What do farmers do? You definitely, I would say, in my opinion, have the backing of the British public. The government as well, if they were here, they repeat this phrase, we are steadfast in our support for the farmers. How do you get through this maelstrom of kind of political activity and financial stress with the industry intact?
So, yes, we have the support of the great British public, and we're super grateful to those and actually most media outlets now. Probably a huge thanks to GBNews for raising the flag on it initially, and then others have jumped on board, which we're really grateful for. I think at this point we need the backing of the rural Labour MPs. So that's going to be who we are trying to talk to, if they will talk to us, to try and get some change within Parliament.
OK.
All right, Kev.
Kelly, good to see you, as always. Kelly Seaton there, dairy farmer.